Well, thank you for coming on this morning that is hot and sticky. We are truly blessed and touched that you care so much about Chautauqua that you have chosen to join us this morning. My name is Mary Henderson, and I am president of the CPOA. As you can see from the handout we've given you, the CPOA has been very busy over the winter. We are often asked, what do you guys do? And so we thought rather than enumerating a list, we would just give you a handout. We have been very, very busy over the winter. And if you own stock in Zoom, please thank us. We spend a lot of time talking to each other in our efforts to advocate for you, for Chautauqua, and for the betterment of this wonderful place. We are in a crucial and important part of Chautauqua's history. I know that you have had many opportunities to talk to Kyle, and I'm hopeful to talk to Lori Branch. And I am very, very confident that we are on a great path going forward. The CPOA will do everything we can to help Chautauqua through this crucial time. We are all on the same page here. We love Chautauqua. So much about it means so much to us, and we all want it to do well. I've often thought that people come for the 4 pillars, but what keeps them coming is the 5th pillar, and that is the wonderful sense of community all of us experience. The CPOA is totally dedicated to enhancing that sense of community. We could go any place on vacation, but there are few places where you feel that there are people that really have your back and really care about you, and I think that's true for Chautauqua. We have some speakers today which I think will give you a lot of information about what happens on the grounds. Dr. Holland is an emergency room physician, lives here all year round, and he will tell us about what happens, among other things, when the helicopter lands. I live above the overlook, and I have often had the chance to see that awesome event take place. I had a family member taken on the life support helicopter a few years ago, and what I had observed from afar, I had a chance to see close up. And they are filled with love and care and professionalism, and although I hope none of you has to use them, you can be assured that when you do, your loved one will be very well cared for. I hope all of you have had a chance to meet Kyle and to meet Lori. There is one thing, though, Kyle has done this week that is really awesome and something you may not know about. The Chautauqua All-Stars played the Tarp Skunks. Kyle did the opening pitch. Despite the fact the All-Stars were the underdogs, they won. I think that's a metaphor for how Chautauqua is going to go forward. And I'm so optimistic, and if Kyle needs a job in the Tarp Skunks, you know, who knows? So without much further ado, I will let you hear first from Alice Hood, who is our nominating chair, and then we will get to hear from Dr. Holland, Mike Volpe, who is the head of emergency medical services and operations, David Bigelow, who is our fire chief, and Mike Metzger, our trustee. And I forget what it is exactly that you do. Sorry. He will tell us. So thank you very much for coming. And with that, we're going to have a good summer. Thank you so much.
Well, hello and good morning. As Mary said, I'm Alice Hood, and I am now the Vice President of the CPOA, which puts me in charge of the nominating committee. Now, before this, I was treasurer, and I did get us down to the dollars and cents, but you will not need to be hearing that speech from me next month because now we have a new treasurer, Russ Boner, who will be that person. And I now, as the vice president, have a very unique perspective of the CPOA. My main responsibility is to chair the nominating committee, and as a result, I have the opportunity now to observe all of the individual positions and how they work together to create this incredibly strong organization. The executive board, made up of President Mary Henderson, Treasurer Russ Boner, who is over there collecting dues, Secretary and Communications Chair Linda Kahn, Member Advocate Linda Turry, and our lead area rep Holly Mack. All of them give tirelessly of their time and talents to make the CPOA a very well-functioning organization. And I'm going to give them a round of applause. In addition to the CPOA Executive Committee, the board is made up of 10 area reps, and we have a beautiful map over there. If you're not sure what area you're in, you just give it a look-see, and it'll help you figure out where you live. We also have then 3 members at large, and all of them are extremely hardworking as well. I say all this just to get you really excited about being a part of us. You're going to want to be a part of this committee. Every year, the nominating committee has positions to fill, and that's where we need you. On the odd years, like this year, it's not that we're odd, but it's 2025, so that's an odd year, we have the following positions to be filled. Some of them have already been filled. We have vice president, treasurer, secretary, and our member advocate. At this moment, we are putting the member advocate position on hold until we see how that position could best work with our new administration. So we're kind of putting that one on hold, and we'll be filling it as soon as we know what the best direction for that position is, so you'll know what your job would be. Our secretary position has formerly been a 2-part job. They were in charge of the secretary taking the minutes and then also sending out all the e-blasts and every communication you get. And we have now learned that's really a huge job. So we've divided it into 2 positions. So Linda Kahn is going to continue as the communication person, sending out all the e-blasts, and will be a wonderful resource to the secretary. But we're looking for someone who loves to take minutes and be a part of our executive committee. So just think, if that's your talent, please see me. The other members that we're looking for this year, but have also, I have just filled out an end of a term. Said that I will continue. So some of us are continuing because you can serve as 2 2-year terms if you're on the executive board, and if you're an area rep, you can do 3 2-year terms. So not all the positions, some of the incumbents are filling the positions. But the one we need for executive committee at this moment is secretary. And then the positions that we need for the board are the areas that were up for positions are areas 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. But the only one that we still need someone for is area 7, which is over in the Garden District. So if that is your area, please think about filling that position. When our newsletter was sent out in the spring, we did mention the positions that were available, and it went to all of our membership, and it was very nice that 2 people did respond, and one of them is going to be filling one of those area rep positions, and one of them they decided it wasn't the best year for them. So just know, if you would still like to be an area rep and live in area 7, we have that position. We also have a member at large position that is available, and then the secretary position. So please think about those. The other role of the nominating committee that you've heard so much about in the last few years is to nominate, not fill, because of course that's the vote at the corporation meeting, but to nominate a Class B trustee. For the last 4 years, we have not had an incumbent. So the nominating committee has been very diligent accepting nominations, interviewing people, coming up with qualified, dedicated people that are serving as our Class B trustees. This year is our first year to have one of those 4 that have been filled so beautifully over the last 4 years by the nominating committee. It is our first time to have an incumbent. Our incumbent this year is Rick Evans, and our nominating committee has decided to renominate him because we are very proud to renominate him because he has been doing such excellent work. But you will be hearing more about him in the coming weeks. Other members of the community are welcome to nominate themselves, but for the CPOA, we are sticking with our incumbent, Rick Evans. Our nominating committee is made up of me as the chair, as the vice president, Barbara Brady, who is a past CPOA board member, Laura Dawson, who is our member at large, and then the other 2 board members that are on it are Holly Mack, our head area rep, and Betsy Vance, our area 3 rep. So if any of these jobs have caught your fancy and you want to be a part of us, because it's a really wonderful group, please see one of the 5 of us after the meeting. And thank you so much. Okay, that's all for me.
So now's the big highlight, Dr. Holland. This is your moment. And Mike, and David, and the other Mike. Thank you so much.
My other job is the photographer, so I'm coming down with my high-class camera.
Everyone hear me okay? Okay. So to fill in the gap in Mike Metzger's bio, he is one of the commissioners for the Chautauqua Fire District, so that's the role that is important locally here. So just as background, I worked as an emergency physician both in urban Baltimore, where I live, but also in some more rural counties that are similar to this. So I have great respect for the kind of work these people do. I think the TV show The Pit has given people the idea that, urban emergency medicine is the only thing that's stressful and exciting, but these people have to deal with things like, when helicopters can't fly in a snowstorm and then you get a sick patient to ham it. It's very stressful to be alone in the back of the ambulance with a critically ill patient on that slow ride, trying to get there and keeping them alive. So I have super respect for the work these people do. So I'm going to try to ask them questions that I think you all will be interested in. And for starters, this is called the Chautauqua Fire District. Maybe you could elaborate a little bit about how many other districts there are in Chautauqua County.
Yeah. There's right around 60, actually there's 42 fire departments in the county that would respond. 3 of those fire departments, one of them is completely career, the other 2 are combination fire departments. Yep.
So we have the Chautauqua Fire we have the Chautauqua Fire District building right here on our grounds. It seems pretty accessible, but I think we need to kind of put in perspective what they actually cover area-wise. So maybe you could elaborate on that. It's bigger than I expected, actually.
Yeah, it actually is. We cover the 900 and some acres here that's on the grounds. Plus, we also cover 17 and a half square miles throughout the district. So we go out towards Lighthouse Point and then towards Magnolia and then up into Sherman. So
Pretty big area.
pretty good sized area.
Okay. So the other thing is, maybe Mike, you could address this, is could you sort of speak to the different levels of expertise that's out there, like different levels of providers? Because I think here at Chautauqua, we have, in security, we have like yellow shirts and blue shirts to do different things. Security-wise, and in the medical aspect of things, there's also different levels of providers, so maybe you could explain that.
Sure. New York State is, as with anything, rather complicated, but they finally got into a situation where they've limited levels of practitioners at the pre-hospital level. Basically, there's a certified first response level, which is just the general basic first aid, CPR, Then we would go up to an EMT, who is an emergency medical technician. And again, basic level first aid, a little more advanced, a little more assessment stuff, use of automatic defibrillators. And then we have an intermediate level, which at that point, these folks graduate up into a point where they're doing more procedural work, IVs, some advanced airway management, and then is what we staff full-time on the grounds during the 9-week season. We have a paramedic here 24/7, and a paramedic is basically trained in New York State in advanced cardiac life support, pediatric advanced life support. It used to be called basic trauma life support, but it's now international trauma life support. And from there, that's basically the layout of the different levels. And, we follow a national standard curriculum as far as training goes, and we operate under direction of a medical director. We're fortunate enough to have a great guy in Mayville, New York, Dr. Michael Falk, who is the county physician. Mike and I go back a long way. He came to me in a hallway as an aide at what's WCA Hospital then, it's UPMC Chautauqua now. And Mike came to me and said, "What do I have to do to become an EMT?" And I told him. And next thing I know, this kid took off, and he came back, and now he worked for me in the EMS services in the county for a few years. And I said, "This is a full circle. Now I work for you." And you know what? It's a pleasure.
Can you speak to what you do, like on a headliner night, like a Friday night thing, how you change staffing at all?
We basically would staff, depending on volume, people being here. David does great coordination with the neighboring fire companies. Generally, we bring in some extra ambulances for coverage. Things can kind of change by the minute, so to speak. So generally, we would have a paramedic here. Sometimes there's cases where we might bring in somebody extra, just so we've got someone here at the advanced level. David's better half, who is also our deputy chief of EMS, as I call her, she's my boss and David's boss, does a great job. Kelly comes in, so we have the autonomy to be able to, flex things and bring people back and forth and provide the best coverage we can. We're also in a great system now in our county where the county took it upon themselves a few years back to develop their own paramedic system. And we have a paramedic unit 5 miles up the road in Mayville, New York, and they have an open invitation to stop down, and if they want to watch the show, we're glad to have you here, and they jump in and help us out when we're not available. So it works out well.
So volunteers are really important to a system like this. And I wonder, maybe, David, you could speak to that, how that's working or how challenging that is right now. Okay.
Thank you.
Definitely the volunteer service is very challenging. It's hard to get new recruits, and obviously the training that's involved that they need to just be, like Mike said, the basic EMT and the firefighter. There's a lot of training involved. It's a big commitment, a lot of time away from your family, so it's definitely a challenge. We have increased a lot of our members, we've gotten up to seven EMTs now, and several firefighters, but training has always been a challenge. So, and I do have applications if, need be, so.
Yeah, the New York Times had an article about New York State specifically and how getting a pool of volunteers, the culture has changed a lot where people don't look at volunteerism the same way. It used to be there were people gathered at the firehouse and it was a very social place, and that's sort of falling by the wayside. I wanted to create a couple scenarios and tell the people how, if they call 911, how each response would happen. So say someone falls and it's described as an ankle injury. We don't know if it's a break or a sprain. Could one of you describe who 911 sends out for that?
So the 911 system in Chautauqua County answers the call, and from there they would dispatch the fire department. On the grounds here, just a few minutes ago, we had a call at the hotel. Immediately, the staff paramedic, doesn't matter if it's an advanced nature call or a basic nature call, we go. We go and we get there and get the lay of the land and find out what's going on with things. At that point, if it's something simple that an EMT can handle, we can transfer care down to that level, and they can take the patient to the hospital, and from there, we're able to remain in service on the grounds. If it's something that's going to require advanced life support, an IV being established, somebody with chest pain needing a cardiac monitor, and a little more evaluation, the medics getting in the ambulance and going, and we go from there.
So maybe, how about a scenario where someone falls here, hits their head, they're unconscious, what you're worried about is like a bleed in their head. Who do you call for that, and what's the response?
Generally, at that point, depending on what's going on, traumatic injuries, as Dr. Hollins says, we have a good working relationship with University of Pittsburgh Medical Center helicopter program, STAT Medevac. They have a base in Jamestown, they have a base in Erie and in Meadville. Those are our three closest bases, and generally we're able to get a helicopter here, depending on their availability. They might be, the Jamestown ship might be already committed to a call. We have a staffed helicopter crew sitting there. They can be up here in about 7 minutes. Once they're cranked up and airborne, they're coming up the lake, and then we can transfer from there to either Buffalo, Erie. Generally, they try to go to Erie because it's the closest facility. If it's a pediatric case, they do transfer to Oshai Children's Hospital in Buffalo, New York, and UPMC Children's in Pittsburgh. We've had them go both places before. But yeah, everything is evaluated, and if we need the helicopter, it's brought in to Sharp Field, as a lot of you know, and probably have had the window shaken on the house in the night, and apologize for that, but we got to get them in and get them out. And to go along with that, we'll say today we have a massive thunderstorm roll in, and we have that type of scenario happen, and we can't fly. All the paramedics are trained to evaluate, and if the patient is able to handle the 40-minute ride to UPMC Hammett, we have loaded up and taken off and gotten the patient directly to the trauma center. And we've also done that in a couple of cases in the night. One of the medics here a year ago he was all worried I was gonna yell at him because he took the crew, and we went to Hammett in the middle of the night. And I said, well, what was going on? He says, well, guy was having an acute heart attack, an ST elevation MI. And I said, well, you did the right thing, because if we take this man to Westfield, great little facility to get you stabilized and stuff, but from the time he developed his chest pain to the time we hit the doors of UPMC Hammett, they called a STEMI alert. He was in the cath lab within an hour of his symptoms. So even not having the helicopter, we still were able to majorly benefit his care in that case. So again, it's a case-by-case scenario. I don't feel good. My doctor is in Erie. Well, we got to kind of weigh out, do we take the truck out of service to go all the way to Erie. We try to do that in just emergent cases.
Just to elaborate on the helicopter transport, if you're here, Mike, with what you call the fly car, which is your vehicle that has your drugs and equipment on it, you can respond pretty quickly to that patient, but you still are reliant on a conventional ambulance to come here that'll actually do the transport to Sharp Field. You can't transport that patient.
Correct.
So there's many pieces that have to be in place to make that happen. Yeah.
Which includes the fire department as far as needing the landing zone crew, making sure that, the kids are clear of the baseball field. Obviously, we've had to delay games in the past, but that happens. It's just part of the job.
I can add a little bit to that. Like on our volunteer service there, we did recruit a couple of the safety and security, Billy Leone and Sutton, as a couple of our members. So working well with both those, they're able to get out to the field or get to the scene and, secure that area before we even get there. Because a lot of us as volunteers, we're coming from home and, wherever we might be. So with their help, it's been working really well. So.
Just to kind of, would you elaborate on what happens, say you're the medic stationed here at Chautauqua and you get a call that takes you far away from here? Could you describe kind of what they call second due, where someone has to come from somewhere else?
Absolutely.
And how that might contribute to delayed response and everything. So.
Yeah, generally the second due in the area here would be the Mayville Fire Department or North Lake Fire District. They did some combination between a couple of the agencies there. But again, if it's an advanced life support nature call, they would automatically start the county paramedic out of Mayville. So we're dealing with you're still going to have somebody here in a 10-minute window, provided everybody's sitting in place and they're not out on other calls. Yep.
Could you address the issue? There are a ton of doctors here in Chautauqua, and there's like 5 on my street. The issue of physician involvement in patient care in a Good Samaritan sense or otherwise, and the legal ramifications of that.
My favorite story involves humor, and believe me, I won't do any Lewis Black style humor because that's how it is. But one of my favorite stories regarding physicians, I've had people come up. I'm a physician. Is there anything I can do to help you or anything? We've had people try to get just directly involved, and where it comes down to it is. As a physician, Dr. Holland could help without any issue. But if he wants to assume care, legally he has to be a New York State licensed physician and has to take full responsibility of what's going on. And generally when you explain that to the folks, they kind of lose a little interest. But my favorite story was a gentleman was walking back from the amphitheater and he fell down. And I had 3 gentlemen that came up and said, we're all physicians. Is there anything we could do to help? And what I always taught the new hires and everything, I said, you need to ask, what kind of physician are you? Well, the one gentleman says, and again, this is a male patient laying there, and he was a very intelligent man and had a great sense of humor. And he says, well, what kind of doctors are you? And one guy says, well, and this sounds like a scripted joke, but this actually happened. The first guy says, well, I'm a podiatrist. The other guy says, I'm an oral surgeon. And the other guy says, I'm a gynecologist. Well, the gentleman, the patient comes back with the best response that I was so quick and brisk. He says, well, I don't have one of those. My teeth are fine and my feet are fine. I just need some help up off the ground here, please. So Yeah, we all stood there in the street laughing, and people were walking by thinking, why are they all laughing? But it just was the quick hit humor. But yeah, just the simple stuff. I've had some great interaction, and for the most part, positive interaction with you folks that are of the medical field and are willing to work very well together. We had a call off the grounds down in Magnolia, where there's a gentleman having chest pain, and I'm running a 12 lead EKG on the guy, and all of a sudden they said, oh, good, John's home. He just pulled in. He's coming over. And walking over is this guy, he's still wearing scrubs. And again, I asked him, what kind of physician are you? And he says, oh, I'm a interventional cardiologist at the Cleveland Clinic. I just handed him the EKG. I said, tell me what you think, Doc. And I said, I think it's okay, but you're the expert here, yeah, it's good to have the working relationship and the interaction where you can, be able to function and, not, I don't want to say step on toes, but we do our best to work together and make things happen and get the best care provided in those situations. Hope that wasn't too long-winded, but.
So I think we have maybe 10 minutes of Q&A if anyone has other questions for our panel. How about if you come to the microphones? I think hopefully they're hot on either side.
I'm going to start with a shameless plug for these guys up here about the softball game coming up on the 27th against the firefighters. But that actually leads into my question. I had a great time with you guys last year and learned a lot about what you guys do in your relationship. And one of the questions I have is, I was shocked that the reason that we did that program last year was because you guys didn't have the necessary equipment, right? So we're talking about staffing and people and everything along those lines, but do you feel that you have the necessary equipment, like we talked about last year, the 75,000 AEDs that are going to help save lives of everybody here? Do you feel that you have that? And where does that, if you don't, where does that budget fall? Like, how do we address that and take care of that?
Well, I do the budget. The Chautauqua Fire District is supported by the taxes that come from the Chautauqua Fire District is supported by the taxes, mainly the taxes that come from the community, and very small amounts of donation go into our budget. Every year we review all the equipment, and we take the opportunity to apply for any grants that we can. We just received a grant for $2,500 for fire hoses, but we do review all the equipment. We want to make sure that all the equipment is functioning and to the latest technology. So that is part of our budget process that they go through. Right now, Chief is putting together his equipment needs for this year.
This is all very reassuring, but I'd like to know, will my Apple Watch call the right people here?
Apple Watch.
Yes, it should. How's that? It should divert to the 911 system closest to you, depending on what's going on.
So first of all, this whole conversation has been very informative and helpful. And secondly, I'd like to thank you all for your service. But as a brand new property owner, I'm still a little confused about the basic context. It sounds to me like Chautauqua Fire District are employees of the county and supported by the real estate tax we pay to Chautauqua County. You are not employees of the institution.
No, that's totally correct. In fact, we only have 2 employees. It's mainly a volunteer system. The only time that we employ individuals is through the Paramedics Association. But none of the individuals are employees of the institution. We're a separate public authority, and thank you for your taxes, which goes towards our existence.
And the yellow and blue shirts, are they employees of the institution, or?
The
Okay.
yellow and blue shirts are employees of the institution, and we have to thank them for the great partnership that we have with the security and safety force. Shannon and Billy and everyone that works there coordinates tremendously. In fact, we're physically located next to each other, and it's a great partnership.
Okay, thank you.
Generally, I'm curious about the cost of an ambulance run. Now, the background story is my wife wasn't feeling well. We went to the clinic. Guy checked her over and said, you need to go to Westfield Hospital. Shall I call an ambulance? And I said, no, I'll drive her, which I did. And at Westfield, they called an ambulance for her to go to Erie. Now, we had pretty good insurance. We were never billed for any ambulance run. And from what you tell me, the county service is covered by general taxes, or do you bill out for ambulance runs? And when you do, what is the price? Because I've never saw a bill. Thank you.
It's a great question, because New York State was the last state out of 49, out of the 50 states that we, for years, could not bill for ambulance service. It was a lobbyist situation with the commercial ambulance services. They didn't not want the fire departments involved in billing, which was kind of ridiculous. So we finally got the legislation. I served on a committee for 15 years lobbying in Albany with the New York State Fire Chiefs Association as an EMS rep, trying to get this through, because obviously most everyone has some type of insurance, okay? And for the most part, that ambulance run is covered by that insurance. There are different cost levels, depending on the actual call. I don't have them right committed to memory, but depending on the severity of the call, the mileage, there's additional mileage charge. And for Medicare patients, there's a different billing rate there as well. And the interesting part of the way the bill ended up finally becoming voted into law was, if somebody does not have insurance, they do not receive a bill. We can't bill them. They don't pursue that. So if that's the issue there, but this has enabled us to, again, that money is specific when we transport or go out on an ambulance run or do a patient evaluation take care of somebody who not necessarily doesn't want it. Maybe they don't want to go to the hospital. But we come, we evaluate, and that's what they call a treat and release. There's a charge to that, and that is covered by insurance for the most part as well. But I'd be more than happy to get you those numbers if you're interested, and go from there. But billing has been a good thing for us, because again, it's helped that money, the cost, it's called the EMS Cost Recovery Act. So we're able to put that money specifically right back into our EMS program. That doesn't go to the fire side. That takes care of the EMS, which can be used for things such as staffing. It can be used as equipment and buying ambulances. And again, everything is doubled and tripled in costs over the years. Cost of an ambulance is probably anywhere between $300,000 and $500,000. So it's a costly business when you're in the business, but.
This is for Mike or David.
Yes.
I heard a question in the audience after you answered the question about how the fire department makeup. So I think you're trying to say Lakewood is paid, and there's maybe 2 departments that are combination paid and volunteer,
Yeah.
and the rest are volunteer.
Could you repeat the question? You repeat that question for?
Yeah, the fire departments in Chautauqua County, out of the 42 fire departments, City of Jamestown is an all-career paid fire department, 24/7 staff. City of Dunkirk, same. Village of Fredonia is what they call a combination department. They are have paid staffing and some volunteer staffing. But out of that, the other remaining departments that are in the county are all volunteer departments. Did that cover that for you? Lakewood is not a combination department. They are all volunteer. Yep. They do have a county paramedic unit that is based there and is staffed there and operates there.
First, to thank you guys for your work and everything that you do. It's totally appreciated, and then some. So I have 2 questions. One is, so you're speaking a lot about the ambulance side of things and the EMT side of things, but recently we were in Mayville listening to some of the volunteer firefighters speak about having to repurpose or basically re-up fire engines because of the different rules around how often do you need to replace them and how many miles are on them. So, you know, over the years, we know there have been fires in here that threaten every structure next door. So one is I'd like you to speak about that. And the other is I'm concerned, you know, we're hearing a lot about rural hospitals being closed down and not having funding. And we've known forever that Westfield is kind of under threat always, always, always. And so the first question is about the fire trucks. The second question is how would, if Westfield ultimately closes, we've got a clinic here on the grounds, how does that impact your work? How does that impact us if Westfield shuts down?
You want to take the first part?
It's an easy question, I'm sure.
You take the fire part.
I'll do my best. As far as the fire equipment, that's an NFPA guideline, you know, that they guide us for as to replacing them engines and, you know, equipment like that. Is as long as they're maintained and, you know, kept well up, we're you know, we service ours quite often, so they're in good shape. We've just purchased a new engine a few years, 6 years ago. We're looking at replacing our first engine, which is about 30 years old. But that's a necessary fund that, because the price of those have doubled compared to what they were, you know, when we bought our second engine. So they're up to close to about $1 million to replace an engine. So it takes a little bit of time to get them up to speed, but yeah, all our equipment's been serviced on a regular basis, and they're so.
Yeah. In the hospital question, you know, it's something that we, you know, when they were looking at, you know, closures of hospitals, and they did actually close Lakeshore Hospital in Chautauqua County up in the north end. But, you know, it's something, I think now having the bigger conglomerates, the UPMCs, the Allegheny Health Networks that have purchased these facilities, I think it helps out a lot more as far as making sure that they're going to be there. I mean, this is an area up here that you know, the way I work in Pennsylvania as well, and they use the term critical access hospital in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. That's the way I look at Westfield. It's a place we can get you there, we can get you stabilized, and then we get you moved down the road. But I think New York State is taking a pretty good active role in making sure those little places are still going to be here for now. The interesting part of not to get off topic too far, but the interesting part was years back, the hospitals, when we would go in, supplies, they would replace us one for one. And, we would be able to get one IV needle. If we used 2 IV needles, we could get 2, and that. I used to have a charge nurse that followed me in with her clipboard, and she was making sure I was just taking. Nowadays, we have probably close to billion-dollar corporations that are funding these hospitals. I said I never thought that the supply cart was going to be left unlocked and we could take what we want. So it's kind of it's a help, and it helps with our costs and so on and so forth.
Thank you.
Yep.
Kudos to all of you for your service and help. Thank you. Yesterday, I was in 3 different states, so I don't know where this happened, but we got on our phones alerts that 911 was not functioning. And I was thinking, is this a scam? Could this possibly be? What if we're driving along and we can't have an emergency service? So what happened to 911?
I can cover that for you, because I was in Pennsylvania yesterday, and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the northern area, they use what they call a cloud-based 911 system. And somehow, some way, the cloud-based system went down. But they are set up that if you're in Warren County, Pennsylvania, just over the line, and these various, you're dialing 911, it's set up to roll to the next, what they call a public service answering point, a PSAP. And from there, that's what happened, was the system went down, but I don't think it really affected overall operation. But yeah, it was kind of scary, because I was working in an ambulance, and all of a sudden it's 95 degrees out, and now we can't call and get help. But I called a friend of mine who's the emergency manager in Warren County. He says, don't worry about it. He says, they can field a call in Sugar Grove, Pennsylvania, at the Clarion County 911 Center, and most of their computer system that isn't cloud-based is all connected. So they could actually transfer the call back, transfer the information that they've already taken. So minor delays, but nothing major. Anything else with that? No? Did I get it? Okay.
Well, I want to thank all these 3 people for joining us today. Thanks for your questions.
Well, I think this proves that learning medical things is better than Dr. Google. Thank you very much to both Tim and Mike for giving us such important information. We also have some chance for questions about the CPOA or about Chautauqua. If anyone has any questions, we would be glad to help you, and we would be glad to answer those. I know that after this meeting, there will be Kyle and Lori will be speaking, but if you have any questions that affect the CPOA, we would be glad to take those.
Hi, this is not really a question. This is a request and some information about EV chargers. So if you know someone who has an EV plug-in car, we have a new system this year. It's much easier than last year. What you do is you purchase, in addition to your regular pass, you purchase a EV parking pass for either a week or a season, and you could use it any time. But for this system to work, you have to move your car when it's done charging, or else it takes up the space. Now, right now, my car is charging, and after the meeting, I'm going to go unplug it and let someone else use it. So it's much better than the old system of having to go up to the gate, buy a pass, keep it for 24 hours. Most people get it. I think the Toyota plug-in hybrid people get it. Some of the Tesla owners get it, except for those who are driving those Tesla Cybertrucks. And those are the ugliest cars. And so if you are driving a Tesla Cybertruck and you are parked for 4 days in that space, it's going to be noticed. And I'm going to call the security people. There was actually one Cybertruck, a lime green ugly thing, the first week. And that person thought that they could outsmart security by rotating it between EV spaces each day. And I thought that was odd because it only takes 12 hours to charge one of those things. And I looked and they didn't have the main gate pass. So they were trying to outsmart security, but they could not outsmart me. And I called security on them. So if you have friends who own one of those ugly cars, tell them to move it when they're done charging. Thank you.
I don't know if I just arrived, so I can't get anything delivered from Amazon. Anybody else? So I guess I'm asking the CPOA.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Amazon is not delivering. Is the CPO?
Amazon is not delivering.
I saw you.
Amazon is not delivering here, and I was wondering if that's something either that Chautauqua or the Homeowners Association should be trying to deal with. As far as I think, it's like I think somebody needs to go to Erie, where I assume it's all distributed from, and ask them what the problem is. Well,
Yeah.
wherever.
So, Mary, you sure you don't want this one?
To my deep regret, I am not Jeff Bezos' wife, so I will put this in Kyle's hands.
Okay. So, Ron, thank you very much. So again, how many folks have had issues? Could you just raise your hands? Okay, it's as pervasive as we thought. Okay, we tried reaching out locally. I went to the head of Amazon's global advertising business, who's a former colleague and friend from Google, yesterday afternoon. He connected me through to a exec inquiries group, and I've submitted order numbers so that they can deconstruct why they did not get delivered. I've submitted mine and Laura Savia's because those are the order numbers I have. If anyone else has one, I need the full order number. It's kkeo@chq.org. I'm not going to get back to you and tell you where your package is, just to be clear, but I'm going to use that as a way for them to figure out why it did not get delivered. They're going to look to root cause. This is something that was done at Google all the time. You use an example transaction, you figure out why it did not get delivered. You can then go solve that problem. If you have 10, 15 examples, you can probably get to root cause in the issue, understand it, and get it delivered. So we're on it. It is not fully solved. We have got the escalation to the right spot, but I still need to get it solved.
There may be some information about that. My housemate talked to a deliverer of Amazon, and what he said was that the Amazon big trucks are not allowed in the institution, but the cars are. So the little car, the cars that deliver smaller packages can get on. And we have had some blockages from them, but I have never seen a big Amazon truck here. And that, I think, is one of the big problems. It depends on how the item is in the big truck or in a little car. But that might be something that Kyle could check into. I have a question about the bicycles. And the bicycles are, I've almost been knocked over by bicycles several times. We need to and one person said, well, they should have a line here so we have a place to do that. Yesterday I was walking and some woman was riding her bicycle, holding her phone, reading the phone, and then making comments on the phone. And she didn't look up. And she almost ran into me, and I had to move quickly aside. But the bicycles are very dangerous, and I'm not very frail, but some of our residents are pretty frail and can be knocked over easily.
Well, you know, the CPOA for many years has advocated for a traffic and livability study. Last year, we had the good fortune to have that company come in and make recommendations about traffic and safety and livability. And I know that there are plans in place to try to fix this. It's a difficult problem. It's been on the radar for Chautauquans for a very long time. And we can only ask that everybody, when they are on their bikes, ride the way that you would want someone to ride if your grandmother was in front of them. So thank you. This comes up frequently, and I think everybody in leadership at Chautauqua is aware of it and trying to solve it.
I'm going to follow up on the bicycles. Back in the old days, everybody knew you're not supposed to ride on the red brick walk. I don't think that, I'm not just going to say kids, I don't think people know that anymore, because I've said things to people nicely, and they just don't know. They think the red brick walk at Bester is awesome. They go right through to the fountain, and they're just tooling around having a great time. I just don't think they know, and I wonder why there aren't our community safety people in Bester Plaza, in front of the library, at Miller. People are going up Miller instead of down. I mean, right there, it's just constant.
I'm glad that Kyle is here because he will be able to answer that in the next hour.
Don't go to Erie. I went there yesterday to the Amazon facility and there's nobody there. So just don't go there. I already did it. But question for you for the CPOA. The first thing you opened with was Kyle coming down and throwing out the first pitch at the softball game. There's a whole group of people that are very interested in the youth recreation and that aspect of Chautauqua. My question is for the CPOA is I look at the committees that we have, how do we establish a committee? Like if we have a group of citizens that want to represent Chautauqua in the CPOA, how do we create, what is the avenue, is there ability for us to, create, a committee to help, service the needs of the members that we have here that currently isn't established?
Well, when the gods want to punish you, they will answer your prayers. We would love to have a committee on youth and activities. And if you see me after the meeting, I will get your name and you will hear from me. We are really interested in that.
The nominating committee is taking notes, trust me.
Francie?
Yes, I can't hear when it's on this. Can y'all hear me? Do y'all know what I'm saying? Maybe it's just my ears. Anyway, my nephew, not my nephew, my son-in-law, Andrew Zachary, loved, and we loved the program last night too, the Voodoo People, the dance, and we were wanting to dance, and he would love to be able to dance more. There were a few people out there dancing, but then a lot of older people are leaving, and you don't want to hit them, but it used to be where they would take out some of the seats, the first few rows, and let people go down and dance. And we all used to do that, and it was lots of fun. But can they do that, take these seats out so people can come down and dance and just see them? There's something else I was going to ask. I didn't write it down. But anyway, what is it? Something about the ballpark. I don't know. Anyway, I'll be back next time. So we'll see you.
I'm just so glad Kyle is here.
We want to dance at the amphitheater.
Yeah.
The seats can't come out anymore. There's just not enough space in some of the areas.
Did you hear that answer, Francie? The answer was the seats cannot come out anymore.
But I think it's a fair one to say, can we do it anywhere else to make sure that there's dancing space? Right.
They're going to look into other dancers.
They're going to look into other dancing places because it's a lot of fun for everybody.
I'm Mary Koch. I've been around for about 50 years, so I remember way back to lots of different things. But one of the things I remember is when Barbara Georgescu stood here about 12 years ago or 15 years ago and made a great suggestion. And it was that club could leave the kids to be excused at 12:15. So when the amphitheater lets out at 12, people have a chance to get home and get their peanut butter and jelly ready for their kids before they let them out at club. And it would also ease the traffic problems. It would ease the possible bicycle accidents, because all the older people like me with a cane can get out of the amphitheater before the bikes all come surging past. And so I thought it was a brilliant idea by Barbara, and nothing happened. So I'm hoping that it gets resurrected again. And then the second thing I wanted to say is that since I am of this older generation, I'm really jarred by the neon in Investor Plaza. It's jarring to me that there's the pink neon sign on 2 Ames that flashes that says open, 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 and then right across the door from it, there's a white one that says open. And then there's a Lumi red neon sign that flashes at night in front of the St. Elmo, and there's a neon sign on Pat's, or not Pat's, the warehouse, Chautauqua warehouse. So the neon in Investor Plaza is jarring to me. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but it bothers me a lot. So maybe somebody could look into that.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad Kyle is here.
We're writing it down.
Are there any other questions?